I'll never forget, in 1979, I was 10 years old, and my dad called everybody together around the dinner table, and he said, "I'm sorry, there's not going to be a family vacation this year." And I said, "What do you mean there's not going to be a family vacation?" And he said, "Look, the economy's bad, interest rates are double digits, nobody's buying houses, there's no money, so there's no vacation." I was 10. And I looked at my dad and I said, I remember it clear as day. I looked at my dad and I said, "Well, whose fault is that?" And my dad got the most puzzled look on his face. And then he said, "Well, I guess it's the president's fault." And I said, "Well, how do you get a new one?" And he said, "How do you get a new what?" I said, "How do you get a new president?" And he said, "Well, I guess you vote for the other person." And I said, "Well, who's the other person?" Well, as it turned out, in 1979, the other person was Ronald Reagan. So I rode to Montgomery, and I started going out door to door. And I'd walk up to a door, knock on the door, they'd answer the door, and I'd say, "Hi, would you vote for Ronald Reagan?" I had him a brochure, "So I can have a vacation next year." And I don't remember anybody that hit me with a broom or chased me out of their yard, even though Elba at that time was probably the most Democrat area of Alabama. And I just, in my mind's eye now, when I look back, I can just imagine all those people kind of mussing my hair and closing the door and turning around and saying to their husband or the wife, "That's so cute, that little king boy was just down here, he thinks he's a Republican." But in 1979, I knew that if there were people in Montgomery and Washington who got to make decisions that were going to have that profound of an impact on little boys in places like Elba, I wanted to be one of them. And I didn't know how I wanted to serve. I just knew from that day on I wanted to be a lawyer, because I believed that understanding the law was the key to what I wanted to do. And I was very blessed. I worked for 2 governors, I worked for an attorney general, and I became the attorney general. Not everybody can sit and say, "I got to live my boyhood dreams," but I can say it. And we did a tremendous amount of good while I was living my dream. So that's how I came to be in politics.
You were 10 years old, just
10 years old.